Let's flash back to the days of high school when I was competing in the state basketball tournament my senior year at Meridian High. We actually played against Highland in the second round. Both of our teams had lost in the first round, so we were in the consolation. Loser goes home. We ended up playing Highland. We beat them in a nail biter. Both of our teams really weren't that motivated to be in there, but it was kind of fun at the same time. But in that game, we were playing one of the best players in the state of Idaho. His name was Wil Carter. Will happens to be the guest on today's show. It's crazy because when I initially reached out to him, I saw his stuff pop up on my feed, but it wasn't until I started talking to him. I sent him a DM. We started chatting a little bit, and he said he was from Pocatello, and it hit me that this is the same Wil Carter that played for Highland High School in Idaho. So we got to reminiscing a little bit, and we chatted about it a little bit. And today I got him on the podcast. Super awesome opportunity to learn from him. This guy has the experience of developing as a high school athlete, then playing junior college basketball, serving a church mission and coming back from that and getting back to full strength after a church mission, going to the Division I level, and even playing overseas professionally. Now he's training, he's running a club, he's an app developer, he's utilizing the skills that he learned in basketball into his entrepreneurial and business life that he has going on. All the things. What a story and a ton of insight. So I would highly encourage you guys to listen up on this one. Listen to the whole thing. If this is like something that you're listening to on the drive home, to work or home from work, awesome. Pay attention. Put the headphones in. If you're listening to this while you're working out, awesome. Take note of it, though. There's a lot of awesome golden nuggets in this one that you're going to want to take note of. This is a perfect interview for parents and players alike. You're going to love it. This is the Gametime Guru. So,
what time is it? Game time!
This is the Gametime Guru podcast, where I interview sports figures from all over the world to help deliver a panoramic view on sports. So whether you're a former athlete, one of the crazies, or simply a casual sports fan, this is the perfect show for you as we peel back the curtains and learn from our guests every single week. I'm your host, Shane Larson, and I'm helping you see sports through a different lens. What's good, everybody? Welcome out to another episode of the Gametime Guru podcast. My name is Shane Larson, host of the show. Excited to have everybody here with me. Another interview, another week gone by. We're 7.5, closer to 8 years running now of the podcast. And I just want to say thanks to everybody who's tuned in, or if you've been part of the show as a guest, as a listener. If this is your first time listening to the show, I always like to welcome the new listeners and just to ask that you guys give me a follow on YouTube. That's one of the platforms I never really built, and I've been making it a goal to build it this year in 2024. My audio listeners are all there, been downloaded in 182 countries, all 50 states. But the YouTube platform is relatively small, comparatively speaking, to the audio platform. So follow me over on YouTube if you guys want to watch the interview. And yeah, hit us with that follow and share what you like about it. If you want to leave a comment in the comment section, do that, because that's what we like. We like to have the engagement from the listeners here on the show. So joining me, it's an interesting connection. It's weird because I came across your profile. It's come across on my feed a couple of times actually, but I didn't even put two and two together until I started talking to you. But then knowing who you were, it was actually funny story. It was I played against this guy. I played against you in my second to last basketball game of my high school career. It was in the state basketball tournament, and it was in the consolation game. It was I graduated in 2006, and so it was during that state tournament. And I remember playing against you guys. We ended up winning on like a last second shot. We made it, and then you guys came down and you turned the ball over at the very end. So Highland goes out, and we ended up going on to win the consolation the next day. But you were part of my last part of high school experience. And we all knew who Wil Carter was from Idaho. I didn't even piece that together that this is the same Will at all. But you went on to have quite a career, and we're going to talk about it all today, as well as training and everything. So Will, thanks for joining the show, man.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for bringing up painful memories.
Dude, I'll tell you right now, though, it's crazy. You were just a dominant force. I remember when we were in the state tournament, Will, in Meridian, we were kind of like the underdog coming into that tournament for some reason. We were ranked in the last, we were ranked 8th. They ranked us 8th out of all 8 teams that were in there, which is crazy because we didn't even finish last in our district, but it's all good. We go in there, and it was wild because I believe you guys had lost a nail biter the night before to Capital, if I'm not mistaken.
We got upset by Capital the night before. and so deflating. Like trying to we were all shocked to play the next day against you guys, and I'm pretty sure half the team didn't even want to be on the court. It was a
Yeah.
rough game. Like it was so bad.
Yeah, because you guys, it was like you guys and Capital as well as Twin Falls that year that were kind of favored to get back to the state championship. It was going to be between you
Yeah.
guys. You guys got the matchup with Capital, and
we beat them earlier in the season too, which was even more frustrating.
I remember that actually. I think you guys played them at the very beginning of the season that year, my senior year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were gearing up for Twin, who was also, in our region at the time, and I had Brady Jardine, who was over there at Twin Falls. We played AAU basketball together, and so the whole season was culminating. We traded off rankings, first and second in the state, I think, a couple times during that year. And we ended the season in first. I think they got upset down the stretch of the regular season. We end up taking that anyways. Yeah, super, super deflating end of the season, man.
Dude, it's just wild though, because like we never really we weren't sure what we were gonna expect out of like the tournament. We're like, if we match up with Highland, we knew Brady at Twin, we knew the guys in the SIC, but we knew Wil Carter from Highland. And when we were like, well, crap, we lost to Lewiston first round, and we were like, well, season's over, guys. Like we were just because we got to go against Wil Carter from Highland, and we just happened to squeeze that one out. I think both teams were kind of just like 1 o'clock game or early afternoon game and a consolation at the Idaho Center. And it was just like, yeah. But it was weird. But it's cool that, circling back, because I always kind of kept an eye on your playing career. After that, I was like, dude, that's the guy that like played against us. And you went on to continue playing. You had a professional career overseas. So it's kind of cool to circle back, and now you're training. And so I kind of want to, pick your brain on a few things. I do have quite a few listeners here in Idaho. So this might actually be a really cool opportunity for them to learn what it's like to be from Idaho, and can you make it out of here? Can you actually do the thing? And so let's chat about it. Wil, you're tall. You're a taller guy. What are you listed at for your height?
I am 6'8".
Okay.
Been this way since basically my senior year. My last small growth spurt was probably sometime around my junior year. I hit 6'8" and just stayed.
Okay. So I remember you being 6'8", 6'9". I thought it was like, you were good. We had one guy on our squad that was 6'7", 6'8". His name was Andrew Kilgore. And we were like, he's going to get eaten alive.
I remember Kilgore.
Good old Kill. Yeah. We thought, I love him to death, but we thought, there's levels to the game, and we were like, oh boy, how's this going to go? So anyway, that's all I got to say there. I love the guy, and he knows that. So, he did what he could. Again, none of us could guard you, so it is what it is. So, when you were going through high school and playing AAU, see now AAU club ball, it's a pretty like common thing. But back then, it really wasn't. Wil, like it wasn't common. You had to be chosen to play. It was a different kind of system. Idaho didn't really have a ton of club basketball teams and programs. So, talk to me about your club basketball experience when you were in the high school era, like that era.
Sure. In Pocatello, first of all, very small, especially back then. I was a baseball player first and foremost. And so I was like I was a first baseman, I was a closer, and I was all about Super League baseball. And you compound that with the fact that there wasn't a lot of like club basketball going on. I was just clueless. Like I just did the rec league for basketball because I was tall, and like that was it. And in fact, it's kind of funny. I tell people this all the time. I made my freshman team at Highland just because I was like a 6'3" freshman, just super tall. Like no one had ever seen this kind of height really. And they're like, well, he's going to be on the basketball team. And they tried so hard to keep me on the court, but I was so terrible that it wasn't very long. They're like, no, just go sit down. and so that's how freshman year went. And then I grew to 6'5", and they decided that the best plan was to put me on the varsity team. I was as tall or taller than everybody, but I basically didn't play. I just would show up to practice, get beat up by a bunch of upperclassmen football players, and get angry at the whole thing. And that kind of stoked the fire. And heading into my junior year, I went to what was called at the time the Big Man Guard Camp. And I was hosted at the U of U. I don't know if you remember that at all. It was Rick Majerus at the U of U.
Wow.
And
Okay.
it was one of like the last years he was there before, he left the U of U. But I didn't know any of this at the time, but it turns out, and this is kind of serendipity, it turns out that that was one of the premier basketball camps in the country. And this is back at a time where, this wasn't really a thing. And so I go to this camp and it's hundreds of kids from all over the country, East Coast, West Coast. They're all coming to this camp. Majerus has got like all the guys he's recruiting there. We're talking 5-star, 4-star recruits, guys that are like there might have been guys that left with an offer from Rick Majerus at this camp. It was such high level basketball. And I went and I just got destroyed. And I realized exactly how much I suck at basketball. But I think it was just kind of the culmination of everything from my sophomore year. And I go to this camp and I fell in love with it. Like just, we were there, I kid you not, 11 hours to 12 hours a day. Like the camp was advertised like 9 to 5, like not a big deal. And there's a lunch break like any other camp would be. Turns out there was an early bird session. And yeah, I'm not a punk, so I'm going to go to the early bird session. And so that's like 6 a.m. and like gets done at 8. And then we go to a breakfast and then we meet. And then at 9 o'clock we start. And then we're literally running all over the U of U campus. We can't walk anywhere. Run to this gym, run to that gym. We're dog tired, but we don't get done till like 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And then I get my grandparents pick me up. I go to Park City, sleep for 4 hours, get up, go back to early bird, repeat for 3 days. Just killed me. But most of that camp, so much of that camp was just listening to Rick Majerus teach the game. We would sit there at the Huntsman Center with notepads, and he would just go levels and levels and deeper into the game. And it's got guys, Britton Johnson's there, Andre Miller's there, like U of U legends are there. Just phenomenal experience, fell in love with it. And I came home with a body that couldn't move and this notebook of drills and things that, okay, this is what I got to work on, just details and diagrams and all of this stuff. And I spent the next probably 5 to 6 months, 5 to 6 hours in a gym every single day. Like nobody saw me. I played no club basketball. I didn't even know there were clubs to join. Like my high school team went and played in some games and I was like, okay, I got to do that because I got to do that. But it was just me by myself, weight room, hoops. More hoops, run some stairs, more hoops, like 4, 5, 6 hours a day.
Wow.
And I did that like 6 days a week, just became obsessed with the game. And so I went from nobody caring about me at all, not playing, like didn't play varsity sophomore year, got some garbage games on the JV team, to junior year, starter, top performer. The rest is history.
Wow, man. That's crazy. And it kind of shifted on a dime for you. I guess it sounds like it was more of like a mindset shift too. Like once you became obsessed with it, it changed the way in which you prepared for it. It changed the way in everything. And naturally, as you're a younger athlete, your body's kind of developing. You were taller in stature. So like, you got to grow into your body, but you're hitting the weight room. You're preparing from a physicality standpoint, a skill standpoint, and everything. I think that's something that I feel like like now, it's kind of missing in some players. You see it in the elite athletes that are, in the high school level, but the other ones just don't realize like how important the weight room is. So could you maybe speak to that a little bit, knowing what it was like to play college and professional level basketball? How important was the weight room?
Oh, I mean, I didn't understand the importance of it until I go to this camp and just got dunked on. Just dudes jumping. Like I didn't know that was physically possible. Like you see it on TV, but it's different when you're on the court and you watch a dude jump 40 inches in the air, body a guy, and you're like right next to him. You're just like, oh, like, okay, so that's how it's supposed to be. And so I couldn't dunk my sophomore year. Like I was just unathletic. I was just this long, awkward kid. I mean, I was a baseball kid. I didn't think I had to be athletic. As long as I hit the ball into the outfield, I could walk to first base and be okay. You know what I mean? Like that was my thing. And so from sophomore to junior year, not only did my basketball skill increase, but I went from like not dunking to like touching my head on the rim.
Wow.
Like I put in so much. It was all stairs. Like, this is pre-YouTube, man. Like there was no guru on social media, like buy my vertical jump program. It was like, it was my dad saying, hey, you need to go run stairs to get explosive. we weren't even talking about jumping high. We were talking about just being an explosive athlete. And so I ran and jumped the football stairs in literally every combination you can think of. Like I just made up the workout because who else was going to give me the workout? You know, so it was jump them 1-footed, jump them 2-footed, sprint them, lunge them, bound them, you know, sideways jump, like all of that. And it just gassed my legs. And I'd do that like 3 times a week. And it turns out, now we know, and now that I know more, that was actually a really good plyometric workout.
Wow.
You know, and so I mean, and I did do a high jump a little bit, but I mean, I wasn't good till I started putting in this kind of work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's kind of I really came back the fall of that 2004-2005 season. I came back just a completely different player. Like nobody recognized me. Like it was crazy.
That's so cool though too, and I'm sure it affected your confidence in a good way too. Like I think once kids start becoming more, they put more time into the weight room, or they put more time into their strength and conditioning, they realize how much it affects them, and they come back with more confidence, which also changes psychologically how you play the game. But you're talking about something, I just think it's funny because I've experienced it myself, even from both sides. Like when I was guarding guys that were bigger than me, even at the junior college level, when I was trying to like play with some of the guys that were at junior college, they would like spin into me and I'd bounce off of them. And so that's not a foul on their part. That's not an offensive foul. They're not chicken winging me. They're not putting me off. They're spinning into me and their shoulders are bouncing me off. So they get like a foot of space and then they just go up for the shot. They go vertical and they get it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, their shoulders are big. Like, I don't know. So it's just, and I've seen it myself too when I put time in the weight room. So it's just funny you're talking about that. It just changed.
It really did.
Well, going from high school basketball in Idaho, and we would say you were probably playing some of the top level basketball, whether it be for club or for high school, because you guys are one of the top teams.
Well, let me circle back to club really fast, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
What my intro to club was out of pure happenstance. Turns out my cousin Mitchell Siemens, who played at Idaho Falls, we were the exact same age, and it turns out they used to live in Twin. And then they moved to Idaho Falls, but still had those connections in Twin. And it turned out they just, you know, through connections, started to form this Southeast Idaho team. And I think initially they just invited me along as like, yeah, you're a cousin and you're tall and you're decent at basketball. Why not? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then I actually performed really well my junior year. And I think it kind of surprised everybody. It's like, no, we actually need Wil on the team. And so we had Idaho Elite. I still got the jersey. That was my very, very first club team. And this is probably the biggest difference to what I see nowadays, where kids like got to join that club team like 5th grade, 6th grade. And here I am, a junior, going into my senior year, having my first club team travel basketball experience. And what happened is that team turned out to be stacked. I think me, Brady Jardine, Mitchell, a few other guys that I don't think they chose not to play college basketball is what it was. They were definitely good enough. And so we go out and we just beat the socks off of everybody. Like Boise Flight smacked them, Salt Lake Metro smacked them. And then all of a sudden, you know, Dave Hammer from Metro is giving me a call. Hey, come down and play for me. Lauren Schwartzoff, Boise Flight. Hey, and Mox, right? Give me a call. Like, hey, come play for us in Boise. And so that was the origination of everything, was that Idaho Elite team.
Holy cow, man. Yeah, it was a different breed of people back then. It just seems like, and I coach club ball now. I love it. Don't get me wrong, but it's different now. Like now you just got to play. Like it was stacked back then. I remember hearing about, there was no way I would have ever made a team, Boise Flight or anything, you know, like it was just like guys over there's like, there are levels to the game. I'm like 3 levels below everybody. That's crazy. Do you feel like club basketball prepared you at all for like the next level of ball that you were going to play?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It exposed me to a level of competition that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere else, which, you know, big picture, I think that's the proper place for club basketball. I think that's its job, is get you to go against a higher level of competition, see what you're made of.
That's awesome, because you did compete at a high level. So I want to ask you that too, Wil. When you transitioned from high school to college basketball. Did you go on a mission first before you even played one thing in college?
No.
Did you go to college first?
No, I got a January birthday. So I decided instead of sitting, at home and working for 6 months or whatever, I went and played my freshman year at Slick. I left high school with 3 Division I offers. Hindsight, I should have taken the Weber State offer because I would have played with Damian Lillard. But at the time, it was a brand new coach. I didn't know how it was going to go. And my dream was to play at a higher level than the Big Sky. And so I ended up turning those offers down, went to Slick, trusted in Norm Parrish that you could get me bigger, better offers. And it worked out. So I played my freshman year, did my mission, came back sophomore year, was not 2009, 2010. And yeah, that all worked out.
So a couple questions there to unbox then for you. So there's athletes probably out here, junior college, okay? Wasn't necessarily the initial route for you. You were kind of like, you had some D1 offers. You chose junior college route. There are a lot of kids, especially today. Junior college is a little different now. There's a lot of talent there because of bounce backs, and then COVID kind of pushed some kids back. Scholarship opportunities. The portals changed everything for recruiting. So yeah, junior college is stacked now. I mean, you can go into the NWAC and it's stacked.
Dude,
I mean, it's crazy.
Slick's roster is unreal.
Yeah, it's wild now. It's extremely competitive, and so it's not so much. It's not as looked down upon, but it shouldn't be anyway. It should never have been looked down upon. I want to get your insight as to your junior college experience. Did you feel that junior college was a good route for you? Obviously, it worked out, but like your experience there, what was it like? And would you advise other athletes to take the junior college route if it makes sense to them?
Well, now it's almost a necessity. If you're not a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star guy, then you just got to face the facts. D1s are maybe signing one high school guy. So like all my assistant coach, all my previous coaches, they're at different colleges now, right? And so a good example is Todd Phillips at UVU. He was my assistant at Slick, and I'm talking to him, and he's like, Will, like just because of the portal and everything else, like we might sign one guy from high school. Whereas back in my day, it was like 3 or 4 guys. And it's such a difference. And so the reality is JUCO, man, it is what it is now. And it's hard. It's kind of a hard pill to swallow for some people because I still think there's some stigma on it. But you got to accept the truth, man. Like go compete with a bunch of other guys that are D1 caliber at a JUCO level. What's changed now is it's very common now to be one and done at a JUCO versus when back in my day, you pretty much were going for 2 years.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's shifted a little bit in that regard, but I love that insight. The other question I wanted to unbox on this one was a church mission. Now, there's a lot of listeners here that may not be of the LDS faith, but there are a lot that are. And there are kids that I've coached that have had similar, questions and concerns like, hey, coach, how did it work for you? And I was like, listen, for me, like I came back a stick figure when I went on my mission. I went to Brazil, came back 172 pounds. Like I was little. I left at 200 solid, and I came back at 172, and it wasn't a good 172. I was a stick. So
same thing happened to me.
So this is where I want to chat with you a little bit about the transition back. If a kid chooses to serve a mission, if they happen to be of that faith, or even if they just take a break of some sort, but like coming back from that and transitioning back into college athletics, getting back into basketball shape or whatever sport they're in, I guess any advice you might have for them on that front?
Yeah. Boy, this is going to sound super cliche, but it literally just comes down to your individual work ethic. Personal pet peeve is RMs, love them to death, but they come home and they're just like, yeah, my mission just wiped me out. I came back light, and because of that, I was never able to get back. It's like, no, you didn't get back because you chose not to put in the work. Full stop. And so, and I'm going through this with my little brother. So my youngest brother just reported to the MTC. He's going to go serve in the Philippines. And he also just signed to play at Slick. And the timing of this is he left in June. So I'm like, bro, when you come home, you're going to do what I got to do, what I had to do. You're going to disappear for 5 to 6 hours every day, and you're just going to kill yourself. Like, if you really want to get back, I know how to do it. I did it. I've got the plan, but that's what it takes. And so if you get your mind right, you'll get back. Like, you don't just lose athleticism. You don't just lose that skill. it's still there. You can go get it back if you put in the work.
Oh, I like that a lot. I just remember, dude, I'm not kidding you. My first time back in the actual gym, because we weren't really allowed to work out when I was on my mission. Even, like we could do our daily push-ups and stuff, but in Brazil, or at least where I was at in Brazil, there weren't a lot of places that had actual gyms to go to. So I remember trying to do a power clean first time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude! Like I went from like doing 260. Like 250, 260 before my mission. I thought that was so strong back then. But then I was like, dude, 135 pounds was hard.
Oh,
like
I got laughed out of the gym, man. Like I came back, and for me it was pull-ups. Like I couldn't do two. I went to Brazil as well, and I came back like a $180 light, $175 light, and I got this personal trainer. His name was Nick. We're good friends now, but that first day we had never known each other before. Like he was a pokey guy, but he like had heard of me in high school, but like we didn't know each other. So I walk in the gym, and he like takes me through like the evaluation, and I like couldn't do my pull-ups. I couldn't do a bunch of other stuff, and he's looking at me like, this dude's gonna play D1 basketball. Get out of here! Nah.
Oh, dude.
And so anyway, so the summer was proving him wrong, making him a believer, and now we're buddies. But I get it, man. It's hard. I relate to the struggle.
No, but I love your insight there. I would encourage those who are listening, rewind that and listen to what Wil said again. Like you got to put your mind to it, and you've got to put the work in. I mean, you've got the talent, you got the skill set there. You got it. It's not completely gone. You just got to have the discipline and the mental capacity to continue to push forward. It's not going to come back overnight, but it will come back. I think that's awesome. Now, when you got into the Division I level, or even the community, not community college, we can call it that, but the junior college level of basketball, what was the biggest transition for you though? Was it a physical difference there from high school to that, or was it more? Okay, so tell me a little bit about it.
The first jump is the physicality and the competition side of things. And the way I teach it to my kids is your physicality and your ability to compete is a door. And as long as that door stays closed, I don't care how much skill you have, it's never going to be able to come out in a game because you're going to be overwhelmed by the level of competition and by the physicality. And so first step, rise to that level. Meet the whatever you got to do. It's extra hours in the weight room, extra conditioning. It's a mentality shift. Like a lot of factors play into that. But when you can meet or exceed the required level of competitiveness and physicality for the game, that's when the game starts to slow down, and that's when you start seeing, oh, this is where I can use moves and footwork and do this and do that. But your mind is literally gridlocked when it's overwhelmed by competitiveness and by physicality, and therefore your skills never come out. And so that was the first jump for me. And I was fortunate to have a teammate, and it took him his name was Sam Kelly at Slick. And that man kicked my butt, like just grown man, RM. I'm 06, right out of high school. And he just put all that grown man strength on me. And there was one practice where I just got so pissed off. I gave him an elbow to the chest. I threw him out of the way, grabbed the ball, went and finished. And I thought he was going to come after me a little bit. And instead he comes to me and says, never back down. That's exactly what you do every single time. You play this way from now on. And I was like, done. Okay, message received. And so I started to figure that part out. And then once I figured that out, that's when I was able to figure out the skills side. And okay, these moves and this time for this and all that other stuff.
Wow. Did you ever have a transition of like a difficulty with the academic side of college athletics where you got to keep your grades up? And I don't know if that was a problem for you. It might be for some.
I kind of did. More so, it was just personal. Like I finally got out of high school, where in high school I was a 4.0 student, more because my parents were like, if you don't do this, you're not playing ball. So I was like, fine, whatever. So I did it. Skated by, just minimum, just to appease the parents. I get to my freshman year and I was like, screw it. And so it was more of a personal thing where I just was like, bag it, who cares? Came back off a mission, was like, yeah, that was a really dumb thing to do my freshman year. And so I got back to being a good student again.
Oh, that's good, man. That's good. If you could tell the young athletes, the ones that you train, the ones who might be listening to this right now, whomever, as they prepare for the college scene, the college game, the college everything, like what advice would you give them? Is it prioritizing time? How can they maximize their time at whatever college they happen to go to compete at?
What you got to answer this question. What are you there for? Like some guys, basketball is the end all be all. For me, it was D1. And then at some point, at San Jose State, I was like, I'm going to play pro. So I prioritized basketball. And sometimes that meant I got to be in a class because I didn't put as much time or effort into a paper, or I didn't study as much for an exam because I went and spent 4 extra hours in a gym, but that was for me. Other kids, no, I'm not playing beyond college. College is I'm getting my education paid for. So where should I prioritize my time? I want to go get good grades. I want to go get that internship. I want to make these connections. I'm going to go to, instead of going to the gym, I'm going to a networking event at whatever company so I can, figure out my life after college, kind of a thing. It really comes down to some self-awareness. Know what you want to do, know what you're using basketball for, and that'll help you understand how to prioritize your time.
Love that. That's fantastic advice. Actually, just you have to be real with yourself, though. And I think that's important for kids to know, girls and guys, whatever. You just got to know what you're there for and be real with yourself. The professional level of basketball, Will, we were talking about how, you had texted me about a week or two ago regarding like the fact that you got to play with Matt Boucher. Matt was on my show, like when this show started 7.5
Bouch, if you're listening, you're the man.
Dude, we love Bouch, dude. He's such a good dude, and I love connecting with him here locally. Super successful businessman here in the Treasure Valley of Idaho. But you had an opportunity to compete with him overseas, and you played overseas. I want to pick your brain on the overseas game because I feel like it's evolved now to where people they're not so naive or ignorant, I guess is a better word, about the overseas game. But I felt like for a long time, Will, there was an opinion of overseas basketball like it was of junior college basketball. Like it was like, oh, that's weak, dude. And I would always try to tell people like it's a numbers game. You look at the NBA, I mean, it's a numbers game. There's only X amount of players that are even allotted to go there. Like there are a lot of good basketball, high level talent. But and so I think people are starting to see that now. But I would love to pick your brain on the overseas experience, good, bad, and whatever. Like, what was it like going over there and playing professionally where you actually got paid to play the game of basketball?
Well, to the perception, let's start with that, the perception of it. So first and foremost, the perception was justified back in the day. But what Europe did, they always were about tactics. And they always thought the game differently. And so all they had to do was figure out the athleticism side, the physicality side, those things. But tactically, brilliant, like absolutely brilliant. And far beyond anything I ever experienced in America. And I was really lucky my rookie year, and Boucher will vouch for this. We had a coach our rookie year who was very good with X's and O's. Taught me so much about, call them team skills, like how to actually execute a pick and roll. And Boucher, who, had played several years before me, he's older than me. So he brought in as a point guard this veteran knowledge, and he just poured everything into me. And we developed a really good on-court relationship, executing some of these actions together. And so tactically, Europe's ahead in a lot of ways. Obviously, in America, we've got coaches that are excellent. I'm talking, on the broad strokes of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And skill-wise. So Europe, man, and I don't know where this comes from culturally. I don't know what the origin is, but Europe, they don't care how big or small you are. You will learn how to shoot the ball. You will learn how to dribble. You will learn how to pass. We are not segmenting your skill set based on your position or your size or anything else. Now, you might not utilize these skills in the game, but you're not trash.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that is such a fundamental shift in development that we definitely at the youth level do not embrace at all. And by the time a kid gets to the college or the professional level, those coaches are only halfway interested in developing you as a player. They're more interested in about winning games, which is a completely different mentality because their jobs are on the line, and that's how it should be. So it's not really the coach's fault, at the college and the pro level. They're trying to pick 12 guys that they can plug into a system and go win a bunch of games. You know what I mean? And then they spend 3 months in an off season developing some new skills, maybe. But once you reach the college level, your incentive to become a new player and learn new skills goes significantly down. You know, they're just by and large, they're just not really interested in that. If it happens, fantastic, but they're not really trying to like make it happen. So Europe just does a fantastic job with their young guys. Just you're tall, you can't shoot, well then you suck. Oh, okay. Like, so I'm big and I'm slow and I can't dribble. You suck at basketball. Like, that's kind of how it is. So go figure out how to dribble, big man. Or, hey, guard, how about you figure out some inside footwork? For all those times you cut to the hoop and you catch the ball 5 feet from the hoop, learn how to pivot and shot fake and up and under and drop step and all this stuff. Oh, you can't do that? Oh, you suck. So they're really position agnostic. Like those guys, big men, small, like they're just so skilled and they work on it and it matters to them in a way that it just, we don't do that here. We see an athletic kid and we're like, all right, we're going to teach you like 3 moves, how to dunk, go run the floor, be an animal. There we go.
Man, that is like so insightful. And you can kind of see everything you're saying right there, Will. You can kind of see when you watch international basketball, most people don't watch it until the Olympics come around or some sort of FIBA tournament. But like when you start to see it, that makes sense exactly what you're saying. You see a lot of big men in the European game and anywhere like that. They're they're not all Nikola Jokic, but like they are all somewhat skilled in the regard. Like you can trust any one of them to dribble the ball down the court.
Yeah, they're super skilled, and they're all. And like you look at it, like it's been like over the last 10 years, like the NBA like couldn't get enough of drafting dudes from Europe, 6'7", 6'8" plus that could do all the skills, and they're playing them at the 3, at the 4, and the 5, depending on other factors. But like they were all very skilled.
That's so cool. It's cool that like if I'm looking at your story here, you know, like you've got the club basketball experience, you've got the high school basketball experience, you had the coach Rick Majerus like experience at the camp, then you have community college like JUCO experience, a mission, you got JUCO experience, D1, now professional level basketball, but European style, like where you're learning a completely different skill set, which is amazing. Like it's a cool, like just different. It's just a different thing. It's awesome to see how well-rounded your story has become as far as a basketball player and whatnot. So when you were over there, what did you feel like? Do you have a favorite memory in your overseas profession, like career, that you can point out, like whether it was a practice or a game of that nature?
It was kind of a shift, actually. And this is actually going to touch on, you know, American style player development versus European. Is one of the knock, like the big hit on me and my reputation overseas is that I wasn't a perimeter shooter. And that's because I had spent the last decade of my life not shooting threes, not because I didn't have touch, not for a capability issue. It was a stigma. It was, oh, you're the big man, we're sticking you under the hoop. That was high school. And then I get to college and it was like, well, we see you have touch, but we don't see a lot of things on the stat sheet. You don't got any like proof that you can shoot from there. So it's like, we're not really trying to get you those opportunities. You know what I'm saying? And so that was college. And so I get to my rookie year and they've got no reason to believe that I can shoot the ball from distance. They don't have any film that says I can. They don't got significant stats that says I can. You know what I mean? And reputation matters, you know, perception really matters. And so I remember working extremely hard over after my rookie year to break that perception. Because I was like, I don't care what else happens my next year. They will call me a shooter. Full stop. So I just put in so many reps that offseason. So when I showed up on whatever team I played for, that I would be beyond confident. Nothing was going to shake me. You know, coach could chew me out, won't phase me. I know I've got this. You know what I'm saying? And it worked because that second season, I actually played in Cyprus against Matt Boucher, actually. He was on a different team in the same league. And for the season, I actually shot 50% from the three-point line, averaged like 3, almost 4 a game, just lit it up. And for the rest, and from that season forward, for the rest of my career, I averaged 40% from the 3-point line.
Holy cow, Will, that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
like my numbers, man. And I'm a guard. I'm a little dude.
And
I'm
so,
not like you.
yeah. And so that was, and that to me was something I was really proud of, because one, it's rare to have that happen in anybody's career at any stage, to go from not being able to do something to being extremely confident with that thing. And so, that was one of the things I was most proud of. Besides, the moments of winning big games and other things like that. And it's kind of where I fell in love with the player development process as well. Just going through it myself as what was I at that time? I was probably like 20, 28 or something like that, and falling in love with that process.
That's awesome. No, and it all makes sense. That's why you've been there, you've seen it, you've put the work in, you had that shift.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of speaks to why like you're doing what you're doing right now too, and helping other athletes. And that's why I think it just builds so much credibility, because you did the thing. A lot of people talk about it. Not many people have actually done the thing. You have done the thing. That's incredible. For those who are like just not really understanding what that means, like the fact that you were able to shoot over 40% for your career over there after like you figured that out is insane. Most guards can't shoot. Like you consider somebody in the high 30 percentile range successful, like in the professional level. Like if you're shooting over 40% and that wasn't even your skill set at all, that's crazy. And then the other thing is, you mentioned like in high school, especially in Idaho, if you're over 6'6", you're in the post, dude. That's just how like it's true.
Yeah.
Like I know exactly what you're saying. It's like put them on the block, let them go to work, back to the basket. There wasn't a lot of face ups like with guys that were over 6'6".
And
like,
it was really funny because I had the green light to shoot mid-range shots. And it's funny because it's like, guys, if you've got a kid who's got a really good looking shot and he's really proficient from the mid-range, it's literally just a matter of reps to become proficient from the 3-point line. It's just reps. And, on the coach's side of things, just give him the green light and just put all the confidence into him so he can take what he's been doing at the mid-range and do it at the 3-point line. And like, that's all it takes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's interesting how often that doesn't happen.
Do you think that's just because coaches are too old school, so to speak, or is it because they like are scared because it's just always been this way, so they're just gonna let it keep being this way?
I think it's fear of losing on a, if we look at it macro, mistakes lead to losing. You know what I mean? And and it's not just with bigs, it's with any player. If I give this kid a longer leash to go figure things out, you know what I mean? That's going to be messy. And in the pursuit of figuring it out and becoming good, there's going to be a lot of mistakes, and we're probably going to lose some games, or we might lose some games because of that road and those mistakes. And not a lot of coaches are down for that journey. I've got to win these games. You know what I mean? And so there's a legendary coach down here in Utah. His name is Coach Drury. He coached at Provo High for many, many, many years. He coached Brandon Davies, for example, famous BYU player. He's still killing it overseas. And he coached Collinsworth, Kyle Collinsworth as well. And as the story goes, he was one of those coaches that I think, in my opinion, had it figured out, because he took Collinsworth and was like, hey, you're going to figure out how to beat a double team. That's all I care about this offseason. I don't care how many times you turn it over. I don't care how many times you screw it up. Figure it out. And there you go. And so there's a give and a take, obviously, but you've got, in my opinion, if you really want to get the most out of your players, you got to lean into, I'm in the journey with you. All right. We're going to make the plan. I'm going to give you that goal. I see that you can get there, and I'm going to help you get there, which, most coaches go the opposite way of, nope, I'm going to restrict you. These are the 4 things you're great at. We're just going to triple down on those things.
Super insightful, man. This is awesome. Will, when did you know that your playing days were going to come to an end, and how did you transition out of sport to what you're doing now at the player development side?
Man, I didn't really know. We had, me and my wife, like, we had a kid, and we were about to have our second kid, and we're kind of like, do we really want to go back over with 2 kids? It was more life circumstances. And
Yeah.
at the same time, I had been pitched the idea to start, the club thing. A couple people approached me, and it was several things unrelated to professional basketball that kind of lined up, and realized, okay, this is the time, this is the moment.
So that's actually interesting. So everybody has a different story of when their playing days end, and
Yeah.
this was more so just, hey, life was guiding you this way, and this is what you needed to
Yeah.
do. Priorities start shifting.
Don't fight it.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's super cool. Did you feel like it was a hard transition to be done playing? Because some people have a hard time getting out of the playing days and going into like the normal, so quote unquote, world
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
playing days are over.
It was tough. Well, I mean, I went from basketball player to jumping into entrepreneur and bootstrapping a company, and so that was a big shock to not be in the gym all the time. I went cold turkey. I actually, when I was done, and I'm trying to get this business up and running, I just didn't have time for it, and I actually went almost 2 years without like playing any pickup games, playing in any leagues. Like, I know that's really extreme, but I was putting in 12+ hour days trying to get the company up and running the right way. And so I was just gassed and tired, and all of that. So yeah, it was a really big shock to the system. And I also had all this competitiveness pent up inside of me that, who do I compete against? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like what do I do with this? And so that was a bit of an adjustment as well.
It's crazy though that you say this. It's cool that you utilize your skill sets though, things that you've learned from sports and so forth to like be able to kind of go into the entrepreneurial world. In my last job, I was working for a company called ClickFunnels, and the guy who runs ClickFunnels
Yep.
is Russell Brunson.
Familiar with
So
it.
yeah, so I worked for him for 6.5 years, and yeah, I was around the entrepreneurial world for a while because of that. We were helping entrepreneurs all the time, and it's interesting, Will, because a lot of the people that I helped, I was in a position where I would help a lot of entrepreneurs utilize our software. I teach them the marketing tactics and so forth. A lot of the successful ones were former athletes. They're the ones who like cut things out cold turkey. They went all in. They did the thing, and a lot of people went all in. But some people just weren't mentally strong enough for the downtimes. Everyone's great when things are great. Like everyone's good when it's good, right? But when things get rough and finances are a little bit tight and the family's a little bit stressed and you're not at home, things get, that's
I
when.
cannot tell you how many times on a hard day I have paused and I have thought back to that fourth quarter, or I have thought back to those deadlifts, or I have thought back to that session when I was running stairs where I wanted to stop and I was like, no, and found another level and just kept going. I developed that mental capacity through sports, and it has served me very well out of the court.
Oh, that's so good to hear, man. That's so awesome. Talk to us about your sports training right now and like the club basketball scene now
Yeah.
that you're rocking and rolling. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, so doing a few things. So I've got my personal training, work with a handful of clients, always love taking on new ones. And so I do that a few times a week. In the club stuff, I work with some really, really good people. CJ Wilcox, former NBA player from Pleasant Grove, Craig Tucker, also from Pleasant Grove, and he's been a high school coach now for several years.
Wow.
And then a lady named Bri got married. First, I trained her while she was still playing ball, and she's just an amazing person. So I was like, hey, I've got all this stuff going on. So when you're done, you got a job. And so yeah, they've been my team for the better part of 4 years now. Amazing people to work with. And we're just in a fun spot right now, growing the club. We're trying to go counterculture a little bit to a lot of the norms, the bad norms, the toxic norms of youth basketball. And it's fun to be in that position where we can identify that this is a problem and we can create something to counteract the problem. And that's probably my favorite part of all of this is working with guys that are of a similar mindset, and we can do that with youth basketball. And so, yeah, we just wrapped up our tryouts. We're trying to build a gym in Pleasant Grove, and hopefully be working with a lot more kids over the next year.
Trying to build a gym, you said, in Pleasant Grove?
Yeah. Trying to build a gym in Pleasant Grove. We're kind of hopefully in the final stages of negotiation there.
Is this like a gym? Like how many courts in this gym?
One court, just a place for our kids to call home.
Cool.
And from a business end of things, it'll bring our overhead down, but just a place to call home, to run something consistent. It means a lot, and it'll be a really fun thing to do. And then my main job now is I'm an app developer, and so I'm helping develop a new sports management app.
Okay, talk to me about. I want to know this. What's going on here?
Yeah. A new app called All Ball. Right now it's still kind of local to Utah. The owner found me about 8 months ago, reached out, said, hey, I'm interested in, what you think of the app, and this, that, and the other. What he didn't know is that through my years of entrepreneurship, I had gotten into web development and graphic design and content creation and a whole lot of other things. And so it turned out to be a really perfect intersect between basketball knowledge and tech knowledge. And so he brought me on the team. It's working really well because it kind of walks in stride with everything that I do with personal training and the club stuff as well. And so, it's a fun thing.
So when is this app launching, or is it already launched? And
it's soft launched right now. It's exclusive to Utah and some of the stuff we got going on down here, but it'll be going nationwide pretty soon.
So for the listeners that are in Utah, which I do have, it's a lot of my western part of the United States listeners are in Utah and Idaho, because that's where my family's in, both of those states. So do they just download it on the App Store? Talk to me. What does it do?
It's called All Ball.
Yeah.
Okay. Sports management. It's available on the App Store right now. You could go download it. We're brand new. We're still working through all of the bugs. We're actually going to be launching some pretty big features here over the next 6 months. But it's the new sports management app. You can run your schedule in it. You can do all your team communication in it. The big feature I'm developing is a play, skills, and drills library full of high quality plays, drills for you to do at home, do with your team, that kind of stuff. And we just got some other exciting features ready to, in development right now.
God, dude, that's so cool, Will. That's awesome. That was not what I was expecting at all during this interview. I'm just blown away. It's so cool what you can do. You're so versatile. That's awesome. So keep an eye out for that, because I'm in Idaho, but I got family and listeners down in Utah, so that might be something that people can utilize. Now, Club Utah basketball, talking about that just real quick, let's circle back. If people are interested, how can they sign up to go? I know you just finished tryouts right now, but how do they find out more about your club?
Yeah. Club Utah, clubutah.org. That's our website. Everything's there. You find out information, come get evaluated. We accept players year round. We got multiple levels of programming. So, if you're not ready to join a team right now, you can come join our skills training classes, learn from some of the best. You get access to online training. We've got some athletic performance partners that we're going to start working with. So we're going to bring that to the table as well. Everything's there. Follow us on Instagram, Club Utah BA on Instagram. We're really ramping up our social media presence, trying to, tell everybody what we're all about and how we do things.
Dude, heck yeah. Okay, so let's put that on there. I'll put it in the description so you guys can check it out if you guys are interested. And then we didn't even touch base, you told us about your personal training and whatnot. But where do they find, if somebody's interested, do you offer virtual services? Are you open?
I just launched my own app, brand new personal training app. You can find me on Instagram. That's the best way to do it. Find me on Instagram. And shoot me a DM, and I can get you set up with virtual training. I know, for all my Idaho people, or anyone from the surrounding states, I know Salt Lake, is kind of a travel destination for a lot of people. And hit me up when you're in town. I've got access to gyms. We can get training sessions in when you're here on your vacation, because you're a hooper and that's what you do. And
Dude, sweet. I got a buddy of mine, Will. His name is Griffin Brady. And Griff, his brother Jordan is a director of player development at BYU.
I know the Bradys.
Yeah. So Griff, I was asking, I was like, dude, he goes, who are you going to get on? I just had Jordan on my show a couple days or a couple weeks ago, right? And I had him on my show like 7 years ago, but I had him on my show a couple weeks ago, and Griffin works with me at my current job now, and Griffin and I were chatting. I hoop with him quite a bit, but I said, hey, I'm going to be interviewing Wil Carter, and he's like, oh, I know Wil. I've hooped with Wil. He's like, I know who he is.
Dude, so me and Jordan, I know Jordan better than Griffin. Me and Jordan used to hoop against each other back when he was still playing. We'd meet up in the Taylorsville Pro-Am against each other. And then the last time I think I saw Jordan is he was doing G League stuff with the Jazz, I think is what it was. And I was working out for the Jazz. And Jordan put me through some workouts, and so me and Jordan run into each other every now and then, and I was super excited that he got picked up over there at the Y.
That's great! What a small freaking world, man!
Yeah,
it's crazy. Everything's like it closes up pretty quick. The circle is pretty tight.
It is, man.
So I'll put here in the description the links to your Instagram for the training stuff, Club Utah, the information there. And then obviously, like when the app starts rocking and rolling, the people in Utah right now, it's exclusive to Utah. Stoked to see that. But the last question I have for you, Wil, as we wrap up the podcast is, what would you say is the biggest life lesson that basketball has taught you?
Biggest life lesson. The biggest life lesson basketball has taught me is my hard work is only worth the value of my performance. A lot of kids are trapped in what I call the entitlement trap or the hard work trap. They work hard. There's a lot of kids out there that are working hard, but they're also not performing well. And at the end of the day, your coach will look at you and say, I'm glad you're working hard, but you're still not productive, so I can't put you in the game. And that's real. And if you can't accept that, you're going to get angry and you're going to get entitled. You're going to think you deserve playing time simply because you work hard. You deserve to shoot more just because you work hard. And my college coach, George Nessman at San Jose State, said it best: hard work is just the price of admission. It just gives you a chance. You have to perform. Go out there, produce. And it comes full circle because the only chance you have to produce is to work at least as hard as everybody else. And so kids need to have that perspective. And once I gained that perspective, that was a big unlock for me on the court, but also in life. Nobody really cares how hard you work. You got to go produce. It matters. Production matters. Your stat line matters. Despite what so many coaches are trying to teach, your stats matter. So go work really hard, figure out how to produce, and that's when the magic happens.
Boom. I love it. Wil Carter, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time, Wil. Thanks for joining the podcast. I appreciate all the insight. Hopefully we can stay in touch as well.
Yeah, man.
It'd be awesome. And for all those who are listening, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow us on YouTube, because we'll be coming to you guys next week with another interview. Take care. Guys, thanks so much for listening to another episode of my show. Now, if you could go and do me a favor, head over to iTunes, give me 5 stars, and leave me a review. It would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. Appreciate your support.